Hey, Andy.
You want a glass of water?
How's it going?
Hello, Marshall.
Hi, how's it going, Andy?
Fine, thank you. That was a nice presentation with the city commission the other night.
Oh, you thought that was okay?
Yeah, I mean, if you hadn't have said something, definitely folks would have felt ambushed on this cost of the emerald ash borer mitigations.
You're in.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Hey, Tom.
Hi, Marshall.
Hi there. How are you doing, Mel?
Come on, Snitch. Let's go. Let's go, Snitch.
I think you're muted, Andy.
I was talking to Betsy a minute.
Oh, gotcha.
We hear a cat.
Hey, that must be Tom.
Yep.
Hi.
Hello, Tom.
Hi. Looks like I'm 14062. I don't know how to personalize it.
Upper right-hand corner, the blue field with the 3 white dots, Tom. I think I'll let you make a change if you'd like to.
Okay. Oh, now I'm gone.
Whoops. What about that view?
Full screen.
Hi, is that Eric calling in?
Yeah, I'm here, Marshall.
Cool. Hey, Eric.
How you doing?
Doing all right? How's it going?
Good. Oh, not bad, thanks.
Yeah, Eric. So we've got Tom Shands here today with us. He applied to be on the tree board.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, great. How you doing, Tom?
I think you're muted, Tom.
How about now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, howdy, Tom. This is Eric.
Hi, Eric. How are you today?
Good, thanks.
Well, maybe we'll wait another minute or two. I talked to Laurel on the phone this morning, and she hadn't gotten the agenda sent out earlier this week, so I just sent it out that other round, and I guess, yeah, she was planning on attending, so.
I was looking for our kitty.
There's some berries around. Chopped in there.
I don't know. Good, sure.
Yeah, so Tom, this is our normal meeting time, the third Thursday of every month at
Okay.
noon. And yeah, normally we meet in the little room in the bottom floor of the city building. But we've been meeting on Zoom since, well, and we met quite a bit in the park too over the summer. Yeah, then we've been meeting over Zoom since October maybe. Be a little chilly to meet in the park today.
Yeah, just a little.
All right, well, maybe we can get this show on the road and the others can trickle in.
Okay.
Sound okay. Cool. Yeah, I guess we don't have Lisa here with any minutes. So yeah, we didn't have Tom on the agenda because we got his application just a couple days ago, kind of after we'd already posted our agenda. But yeah, Tom tells us on his application that he has a background in journalism, photography, and teaching, and that he has experience with the multi-acre fruit orchard. So that's cool. Yeah, Tom, do you want to just kind of introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you why you want to be on the tree board?
Well, I feel like a old-time Livingston person, even though I kind of split my time here. Moved here back in March of 1980 to work for the Enterprise, and I was there for about 17 years. And then right around the 2000, we started making plans to. Well, I had left the Enterprise by then. I was working in my own little desktop publishing company because by then.
Oh no. All
Okay.
right, we got you back.
Yeah. All right. I won't touch the mouse.
Okay.
Anyway, by then you could run desktop publishing with just, a computer. You didn't have to have this giant setup. But anyway, about, turn of the century there, back in 2000, Lita and I left and went into teaching and did that for another it turned out to be about the best place for us was down in Texas, where we had lots of relatives. So we were down there for quite a while, about 17 years, and we just retired and just came back. That's not me. There we go. We got more people. So we came back and we've been back about a year. We've just been kind of busy working on the house we're in and some other projects. And our daughter is quite active. She's, I guess, a number of boards and committees, and she's let us know that there's an opening on the tree board. And I don't know, it's just, I'm not an arborist, but I do have, spent lots of time planting trees. It sounds kind of funny, but you can see how important trees are to a community when you look at the areas where the trees died from the last, what was that disease that came through a couple of years ago, and in front of the old Lincoln School and the old East Side School, and
Dutch elm.
that was Dutch elm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what. But it's just the city's canopy, the city's trees are just so important. And so, it just sounded like something that would be a fit for me. As I wrote in my application, I've planted a fair amount of trees in my time. We bought a small chunk of land down in Georgetown, Texas, and it was right at the edge of an old pecan orchard. These were, it's one thing I wanted to talk about at some point. These were called heritage trees, and they were protected by the city because some of them were 23, 24 inches in diameter. So the city on their side of the property line, they had, 25, 30 old pecans. We had about 4. And so I just continued the pecan orchard and planted another, 50 pecan trees. And in the back planted a peach orchard, about 35 peach trees in the back, along with some assorted, what do you call them? just some decorative trees, holly trees and some other things around. And I hope I'll have to go back to our place up on Northeast Street. I hope a couple of those that a bunch of those that I planted years ago are still alive up there on Northeast Street. I remember going up into the forest and digging up pine trees and trying to orient them, figure out which way's north, put a little piece of string on that branch and bring them back and orient them so they're facing the same direction when I planted them up on our property on East Street. But so I've got, Lita and I are retired. I've got time. I definitely have interest. And so I thought I'd apply and see what happens.
Great. Well, yeah, we're really glad you did. Does anybody have any questions for Tom?
Thank you, Tom. This is Lisa Harold. I'm on the board also.
Hi.
And sorry I joined late, you guys. I was just running a little bit late. Thanks. It sounds like you have a lot of interest and knowledge for the trees. So we'd be excited to have you on the board. Marshall, quick question is, how many open seats do we have? The one?
Yeah, so I was going to say, we've got to, at some point, have a discussion on this meeting about how we're going to vote on this, because so there's just one open seat for Mike's spot, and then the youth seat. And so the recruitment period is actually not closed yet. It's through December 20th. So I think technically we're not really supposed to vote on this until then, in case we get multiple applicants, which we may not. But if we do that, I see kind of three ways forward. So one is we could just wait and not vote until our next meeting. And the upshot of that is like Tom wouldn't be a member until like February. Or we could call a special meeting in a couple weeks just to do this. And if there are other applicants, then we could like interview them then and vote on it. Or, I mean, I think, we're probably starting to think about replacing a couple people who haven't been active for like almost a year. So, I think it would probably be okay to just approve Tom, and then if we do get another applicant, kind of sort that out with, kind of fitting that into a slot for either Jody or Debbie's. I don't know if anybody's really reached out to them, but does anybody have thoughts on that?
Mhm.
That's a really good idea. And because I think we would really welcome Tom. Sounds like a great fit. It would be good to have him on board. And I don't want to miss this opportunity. So I think those other seats may be open officially. We can, if we need a resignation from those guys, we can get that. And at least I know from one of them, I think would resign. The other one says she's interested, but I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that she is participating. So we would have another seat. So yeah, I don't want to lose out on this opportunity. So I'd be willing to sit in on a special meeting after it officially closes on the 20th.
Okay.
And yeah, that's a good idea. Like maybe next week or the week of the 28th, we could have a short special meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah, how about you, Andy?
I concur with Lisa, but I would prefer to do it sooner rather than later. I think, I just think waiting and having a special meeting rather than do something today, it makes it a lot cleaner. And I think, I know the holidays are coming up and that gets problematic, but if we were to be able to come up with a quorum next week, I would prefer to do it next week.
Okay.
Hey, Lisa,
Yes, Mel?
what's with Mike Gomez?
Well, I think he officially is resigning. I don't know that he's he is planning to move away, but I don't think it's happened yet. He's still in town, but he is still planning to leave. So
Well,
he, Yeah. He wanted to open it up so that we could get new people.
Okay.
And
Okay,
I also, yeah, that's a good idea. So Andy, you're saying sooner rather than later. You don't want to wait till the week of the 28th. You want to do it next week sometime?
If we in fact have a seat open, I think that would be best. And then we've met the requirements by waiting until the 20th.
Uh-huh.
And then if we do have another seat open, or if we accept some resignations, I just think it'll be a cleaner system and away we go.
Okay, I agree. And I have a friend who said she applied, my friend Maureen, but I don't think the city ever got it. So I thought she had emailed it, but so I think that she would be a good person for that other seat, that I think that we can open up those seats and get a more active participant. So I'd love, so if we can, whatever works next week for you guys, I'll try to see if I can get in contact with these guys and get something definite. And I know that if we could get Maureen's application in, because I know she said she sent it and maybe they didn't get it in the city. So I'll make sure that gets submitted. What day is today? Today is the 17th. I'll make sure that gets submitted before that it gets accurately submitted by the 20th from her. Okay.
okay,
Okay.
Great.
So that next week, I was planning to not be in town on Monday and Tuesday, but I'm available Wednesday and Thursday.
okay. Yeah, maybe we shoot for like Thursday or something, the normal Thursday at noon or whatever.
Okay. That's Christmas Eve, but
Oh, gotcha.
I'm
Yeah,
okay
well,
with
maybe Wednesday then. Sounds good. Yeah, so I can get in touch with Faith and set that up. I think we'll have to post notice for that. And yeah, does Wednesday at noon work for people?
That works for me.
it works for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Mhm.
How many total seats on the board?
What is it? Up to 9, and with I forget if that includes the youth seat. I think it does.
I think that includes the youth seat, and we've always questioned whether the city employee was a seat, right? Eric has had a seat, right?
Yeah, I don't know technically if I'm a voting member or just sitting in for the city or how that works technically.
Right.
The related issue of accepting the resignations, I think we could use some guidance from Mel or Lisa on exactly what that procedure is, because I could see where requesting those and receiving those could be pretty messy if we don't do it correctly.
Right.
Okay.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good point. Yeah, I mean, I would think it would take just a written resignation, or we can double check, but it's always been, we've had a difficult time in the past as to when seats are expired. So maybe those seats have even expired by now.
mhm.
I don't know. I read through it and I did not see a specific rule regarding giving up a seat due to inactivity.
Well, I know for the city commission, there is a rule that if you miss, I think it's 3 meetings in a row for the commission, that's considered a resignation.
Mhm. True.
So I don't know if that applies to the boards, but I can look into that.
Yeah, I can talk to Mike about that.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
Great.
I know the city commission dealt with the issue before.
all
So
right.
Is that,
Also-
Mel, is that something you could look into before we get together Wednesday?
yes,
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah,
thank you.
Great. So I'll schedule this Wednesday, and then Lisa, can you help us handle the resignation
yeah,
for the person you know? Okay. Yeah, I think just so we can make sure we get that lined up if your friend is planning to apply.
right. Well, and if we have up to 9 seats, it seems like we might even, do we still have another seat besides Mike's seat?
No, it would be one of the ones for Jody or Debbie.
Okay, for Jody or Debbie. Okay,
Mhm. Okay.
All right. Well, good. Sounds like we got that handled. And I guess, Tom, you're welcome to listen in on the rest of the meeting, I guess, or um, what we've got here on the agenda is just going over the, well, you saw it, the tree ordinance and emerald ash borer and some other stuff. But I guess one thing, yeah, is we are going to maybe talk a little bit about kind of goals for the upcoming year. So that would be something you could have potentially some input on.
Mhm.
Okay.
But I guess, yeah, feel free to drop off if you want to. Well, cool. So moving on to our old business, we got our first item here, the update on the tree ordinance. So this passed unanimously with the commission on Tuesday. So I guess within 30 days, the new ordinance will take effect that homeowners are responsible for the boulevard trees. And I saw Andy and Laurel attending that. I gave kind of got on my soapbox about emerald ash borer a little bit.
Just a little.
Yeah. So I guess, does anybody have any questions or comments about the ordinance?
No.
No, thank you for making that happen. Appreciate it, Marshall. Was there any discussion by the commission about the future, or just passing the ordinance?
There wasn't a whole lot of discussion. I was kind of surprised that only one person from the public gave public comment, and it really wasn't. Somebody basically asked whether people are going to be informed or have been informed about, that homeowners are responsible for the boulevards. There was really no comment from anybody against it, which I was kind of surprised at. I guess after I jumped in at the head of the line with my comments about ash borer, and basically asked the question to the commission and the city whether there was a kind of a commitment to helping people with ash borer as a special case, outside of regular pruning and upkeep of the boulevard trees. And so, multiple commissioners said they thought that was a good idea. And I guess, the big open-ended question now, and I've already heard from Shannon about this, is just, how do we pay for that and how that fits with another proposal for tree districts. So that's something we'll have to sort out. Yeah, I guess just for the record, during this hearing, so Cardos introduced it and said that at the request of the tree board, they had made changes to things like, applying pesticides instead of spraying. And so I did contact him a few days before the hearing, and I didn't request to have any changes made, either personally or on behalf of the tree board. But I just, in the last couple of weeks, I had some concerns as I was really focused on, this ash borer plan that we're wrapping up. And I had questions about like how to interpret the ordinance as it would relate to things that we're kind of talking about with the ash borer plan. And so for one thing, it wasn't really clear to me whether there was a way in the ordinance as it was written, for the city to do treatment of boulevard trees without going through code enforcement. So during review by the city attorney, she had added this part that the city could do pesticide treatment of boulevard trees and charge the homeowner for it, basically like copying the language from the part about tree removal and putting it in the section about pesticides. And I knew it was cut and paste because they hadn't even changed the word remove to spray. So it was basically like, so I pointed that out to Cardos and I just said, if I'm reading this right, I'm not really sure that there's a way for the city to like treat trees without this like code enforcement mechanism. Like, am I reading this right? And so he just said he'd look into it, and then that they just like removed that from the draft, and they didn't really explain that to the commission when they introduced it. So I pointed that out, that it was.
There is a section in there, Marshall, on pests, saying that the city can tell homeowners to spray for pests. And also, since they're city trees, we can do whatever we want to those trees anytime we want. So what's your question?
Well, so in the section about public tree care, yeah, it said like the city can maintain plant whatever trees within the lines of the streets, right? And in the
Right.
lower section just about spraying, it's a section called spraying. The city
Mhm.
attorney had added a part similar to basically the same language as for tree removal.
Oh,
but
just for
spraying.
charging you mean? Yeah.
So that part went away, and I mean, I didn't have a huge opinion about that when it was in there, and I didn't have a huge opinion about it when they just took it out. But I did point out to them that,
Hey, Marshall,
yeah,
it's Mel. Of course, the first part was fine, we are making the homeowners responsible for the boulevard. Then the discussion of the asphalt came in. And we had like a number of $1,300 if you were going to spray.
yeah,
And that presents another situation altogether. So that's when things got stalled down. I think we accomplished the first part, is that it is the responsibility of the homeowner. Then the next part is the expense of all that, and how we deal with it. So that's kind of where we are. But it took quite a while. We finally got the homeowner responsible for that. But now we got this, I don't know what's involved with the spraying. I guess Andy could fill us in a little bit on that situation, but that's when things came to a screeching halt. So that's where we are at the moment.
I'm kind of conflicted on the whole thing. I guess I want to savor the victory first. I'm really pleased the ordinance got passed. And I think now we're going to really be in the weeds with the emerald ash borer plan because of the expense. I think the spraying issue might not be that big a thing. As I travel around the city looking at these ashes, many of these trees probably, while they're valuable to the owner that looks at them, a lot of them have been pruned poorly. A lot of them have root problems. I'm not sure that a lot of these trees are worth spraying. I think spraying might come in and be a valuable tool for the city. When the borer actually hits, we're going to have a high degree of mortality. And I think we need to have a discussion on how to get out in front of that. And I think one of the things we could do is a specific ash assessment and start to triage these trees, so we can kind of figure out how many a year need to come down prior to the borer getting here, if that makes sense. And then that should cut the spraying discussion into a more manageable piece. Eric certainly will have an opinion on this, but I really think that if we let homeowners know now that, this group of trees, and I think it could be dozens or more, probably don't merit spraying, and that they would be the ones that, when the budget allows, would go first. I think that that's more transparent and probably would make things more acceptable across the board.
Okay.
So this is Laurel. The most confusing part to me was Courtney saying, oh, we have discretion who we charge and who we don't. And I think that needs to be clarified, because that is not going to fly if one homeowner gets their tree taken down for free and another one gets a bill for $1,500, especially if they don't have a say in whether the tree comes down or gets sprayed. So that, I'm not sure how to get her to clarify that. It was very, very vague. Didn't seem to be based in any kind of a process that I could tell.
As I understand the ordinance, everybody gets charged is the baseline. Now, if trees pose a specific hazard, I think it's legitimate for the city to probably move in there quickly and take it out. But Eric, there again, this is Eric's bailiwick. but I was a little bit taken back that the discussion went the direction it did the other night. So I just stayed quiet because I thought I would only make the situation worse.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well-
mean, generally, the city is always going to act on any hazardous trees because it's a liability to the city.
Exactly.
And the whole purpose of the ordinance was to make it even for everybody. However, maybe it didn't address the emerald ash borer enough, and that's why working with Marshall and the plan he's got now is basically a preliminary, plan presenting a bunch of scenarios. And I think as we get closer, we'll get a final scenario that discusses the expenses more because, yeah, you can't have it one price for somebody and a different price for somebody else, obviously.
Yeah.
I
I
think,
mean, I guess the gist of the comment I was trying to make to the commission is, I think it makes a lot of sense with this ordinance to clear up this situation and, define that the homeowners are responsible for the boulevard trees, but that ash borer is such a big issue that, it is going to demand some city resources one way or the other. And that, it's going to make sense to, I think, for the city to play a role in helping to treat these trees potentially. And
Well, the city absolutely has to lead the way on it. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be such a huge problem that's going to come so quick and swift. The homeowners are going to be clueless, quite frankly. It's, the city needs a plan
yeah.
and a budget.
So, I told them like, yeah, we're making this plan and it's not going to be cheap. These are the numbers. And just so to kind of like log roll the ordinance into this ash borer plan a little bit and just let people know that this is kind of,
Yeah,
it's not like
Marshall,
we're passing this ordinance and homeowners are totally on their own with ash.
Marshall, do we have any inventory numbers?
Yeah. Well, we have numbers that are workable. I mean, they're not totally accurate at this point, but they're ballpark.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Eric's done a remarkable job with his crew of taking care of the trees that are hazards or potentially, have overt signs of being hazards. And I think that as we can get grant money, we need to kind of look at the city as a forest. And that's the city's part of this, I think, primarily is to get the overall plan, the budget, and kind of the replacement scheme for these trees. And I know with money being tight, always tight, we have to look at what will it cost to take the tree down. But that's only about a fourth of our problem. We need to get the stump removed. We need to get another tree purchased, and we need to get another tree planted. Otherwise, we lose whatever we had to start with. We lose the amenities we say we're protecting. So I think even if the numbers are big, I think that as a tree board advising the city, we need to get the snapshot together of what this problem is going to look like, and then start getting trees triaged and start taking care of those trees that are going to come down anyway before we have the whole ash borer thing. And the less hosts we have, maybe we can mitigate some of the impact.
Yeah, and Andy, we're doing somewhere between 30 and 50 trees this year with that grant we have.
Yep.
We're going to do a
looking real
huge number of trees.
We're doing great, but I think that we just really need to codify this and get our foot on the gas with this prioritization and assessment.
Yeah. So I think it's a good segue into this other action item I have on here of just giving an update on the Emerald Ash Borer plan. So basically where we're at with this right now. So we voted at the last meeting to give this to Eric for his feedback. So Eric had a few minor edits that I incorporated and then gave him a new draft, and he sent it to Shannon. And I checked in with Shannon yesterday, and he hasn't had time to review it, and he's gonna try and do it, I think, in the next month or so. And then I checked with just with Faith in Cardos's office about like this process, you know, getting a roadmap for how we approve this and recommend it to the commission. So it's basically just working through staff feedback right now, and then maybe you guys already know how we do this, but we, you know, write up a little recommendation letter and send it, and then hopefully staff does that as well. So I'm not sure there actually is any action on this right now. I guess I was wondering if anybody thinks it could be a good idea in this time when we're waiting to also send it to like Jamie at DNRC or Lori at MSU Extension, like these people that kind of partner with. It seems like when other communities do these ash borer plans, like they're kind of at the table, and you know the city gets a grant to do it, and it's kind of a bigger report that has a bunch of photos of the beetles and stuff in it. I mean, ours is pretty stripped down. It's just what I wrote out, but maybe getting them to just check in and tell us if there are any like big holes in what we're doing.
That would be a great idea. And then maybe get a recommendation, get a recommendation from them as well. Have them submit a letter of recommendation like we would be doing from the extension office, requesting a recommendation from them. Who are you working with the extension office over in Bozeman?
Yeah, I forget her full name. It's somebody Lori.
Okay.
And, yeah, she's kind of the ash borer specialist there in Bozeman, and like they just put out a pamphlet about ash borer and that sort of thing. So
Okay.
Eric,
Yeah.
do you have anything about this draft?
What's that?
You want to say anything about
What's
the
that,
ash
Mark?
borer draft?
Well, I think the draft is really good, but like I said, what it does is present a bunch of scenarios. And at some point, it needs to change into an actual plan.
Yeah.
But I mean, we could even be years. You know, the thing is, we never know when it's going to come. So that makes it difficult.
Yeah.
So it's definitely in a good direction. I mean, I really like what you did with that, actually, at this point. But it's not a plan that we can take and say, okay, this is what happens. You know what I mean?
It's really kind
scenarios,
of
which is, I think the commission and the city needs to push it more towards the top of their list and decide how much money they want to throw at it, because it's going to take some serious money.
Yeah, the way I've been thinking about this moving forward, a lot will depend on Shannon's feedback, whatever. But yeah, the plan it's not a plan like Eric said that can be implemented. It's just kind of like it's like an assessment sort of, and it's like a buffet of options with dollar signs on them.
Okay.
And so it's almost like we would recommend that to the commission, but maybe with a letter saying kind of like our preferred options and presenting them with kind of the choices the main choices they have to make. Because I mean, I think it does come down to, how much money they want to throw at it, what they think they can get out of the budget. So.
Marshall, what's your schedule during the daytime?
I'm pretty flexible, like 9:30 to 4. I work from home, and I got a little kid that I have to pick up and drop off at daycare and stuff. So
what I may do is, if I could, I'm going to talk to Mike, and then if you're free sometimes, maybe we could spend a little time together with the three of us, or whoever else you want to bring, and see if we can get some answers to what we're talking about.
that sounds good. Yeah, I've got some questions just about how some stuff works with the city. So
Okay.
Right.
All right, I'll start working on that.
Right. And I have a question about the city budget, about whether we can, even though the budget is a yearly budget, but when you set money aside and then it doesn't get used at the end of the budget year, then it just gets rolled into the next budget.
Yeah, well, that's
And
what I
wonder
want
if there's a mechanism where we can set the money aside, but not have it, but it won't be used this year, that it can be set aside instead of just getting rolled back into the budget.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
So that would be key, budgetary wise.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting.
Mhm.
Well, cool. Yeah, I guess if there aren't any other comments on the EIB plan, I guess what I would do is, yeah, send this to Jamie at DNRC and Lori at Extension, and we
Mhm.
can try and roll their recommendations into whatever we get from Shannon, hopefully by next meeting.
Good. Great.
You know,
Can
I
ask
would
you a couple
recommend
things?
you notify, Marshall,
Eric.
you ought to notify Shannon you're gonna send that to Jamie, because he works with her pretty, directly himself.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would
well,
at least let him know you plan on doing that.
okay. Yeah. Good idea.
Yeah, just a quick question. Where exactly is the ash borer now in terms of, geography? Is it something that's moving up from the south? Is it affecting Colorado? Is it in Wyoming yet? Or what's the spread of the disease?
Yeah, there's like a map I can send you, but basically the closest it is to Montana now is like southeast South Dakota, or it's in the Boulder and Denver, Colorado area. Like it made this big hop over to Boulder.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's both spreading at the edges and making leaps. So
Mhm.
it could be here anytime, I guess.
Yeah, I think the urban forester in Billings said that they assume it's there.
Buildings already.
That's
And you
what
said-
they're saying.
Well, that's an assumption. There's no evidence
That's an
whatsoever
assumption.
that it's in Montana.
Oh,
Yeah, and that's not based on any evidence.
Yeah, I think when it's confirmed anywhere in Montana, we'll all know, because they're,
Yeah, it'll be on the
federal
news.
agencies are going to put up the red flag, and there's going to be quarantine and all sorts of stuff. So
Another quarantine.
And you said there's an inventory. So about how many trees are we talking about here in Livingston?
Yeah, I'm forgetting the exact numbers. So the figure I'm most familiar with is, well, I think it's about 1,800 trees, maybe 1,700. So
Total or
But
Or
that's
just on the
that's just
boulevards?
city-owned trees.
just the
Yeah.
public trees. So about almost 2/3 of the boulevard trees are ash.
wow. It's gonna be dire.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, cool. So this item of new business I have on here is this is picking up where we left off from the last meeting, when we were talking about how there's this part of our ordinance that says, every year we're supposed to develop a plan for the kind of every aspect of the city tree management. And I mentioned this to Eric too, and it's like, well, what is that plan? Where are we? So I think, and then had some email exchanges with Andy where we were looking at, Andy found some good examples that he liked of plans from other cities. And I guess what we were kind of talking about and what we're maybe moving toward is doing some kind of update that we write to the 2015 plan that Mike Garvey did, just as a way of kind of refocusing some of the priorities and the proposals that he had. And so I guess I have a few thoughts to kind of frame this, and then maybe if other people have things they want to throw in here just about the overall like direction. So like the one that Andy sent, and when you look at these plans that other cities have, a lot of these are like done by a professional consultant, and it's like what Livingston got when we paid Mike Garvey to write something. And I don't think we can do that, and I don't think that it's something that we can do every year to kind of be true to what is in our ordinance. but I do think that it would be really good to do something that we could manage to do every year. And I remember from another past meeting when we were talking about just wanting to discuss like goals for the tree board for the next year. And so how I've come to kind of think about what might be helpful for us to do with this like plan that we develop is that it's really kind of more of like it's kind of it could be a hybrid thing of several pages where we're kind of like putting our goals on paper and stating our priorities as a board, and referencing what is in the Garvey report or referencing things that we notice or whatever else, so that it's not like a comprehensive plan as much like the whatever like 100 pages that we have in the Garvey report, but more like more like a statement of our priorities and goals. But that's, I don't know, that's just an idea I had. So does anybody have, what are you thinking, Andy?
Well, we're really fortunate for a town this size to have a professional arborist. And I think, Eric has set the tone. And I think that his annual work plan is a big piece of this. And his annual work plan is based on the resources he has available, manpower, equipment, and funding. I think that we might, that being the annual or short view, if you will, I think we need to take a long view. I think the Emerald Ash Borer plan is a piece of this. I think we have a lot of tree hazards to manage. I think, we've got a lot of widow makers and hangers over sidewalks in town. I don't know that we talk about that very often. And I know Eric's always on the lookout for those. I think one of the things that I try to be conscious about is keeping in the tree board's lane. Eric has a program and Eric's doing his thing and he's doing it very well and he's setting precedents that matter. And I think that while the tree board is supposed to provide direction and counsel to the commission, I would prefer that we look to Eric for guidance. What does he see and how can we support him in his plan? And I think that that's the approach that would be the most pragmatic for us.
Well, Andy, I appreciate that. You guys have done a lot of that in the past by getting this tree ordinance done. That's been one of my priorities forever. The EAB plan, pushing that forward, that's been a huge priority for me. The tree board doing that and the work Marshall's done, to me, that's huge. Another big concern I have in the near term is, I'm not going to be here that much longer, is actually the aging cottonwood trees in town. They've been coming down in the storms, and that's actually kind of, I think, in the next 2 to 5 or 3 years, a lot of them need to come down. Is kind of going to be a priority, I think.
They're more expensive than the ashes to take down too. So I guess cottonwoods have been a lot of my bread and butter for a variety of reasons. And that aspect of the city's forest is really more problematic to me than the emerald ash borer. And
it is in the immediate term. Yeah.
And
but speaking long term, a couple other things though is with this new ordinance is what it's going to take is enforcement. I would push the city towards actually enforcing that ordinance now through code enforcement. And then also, as we all know, a tree district may actually long-term be a better way for the city to go. So the tree board, if you guys could maybe look into that more, and if you all think that's the best way for the city to go, which to be honest, I think it probably is, working towards that in the long term, getting a tree district.
the tree district certainly addresses Laurel's fairness issue over who's going to pay and who isn't.
Right.
The tree district guarantees everybody pays a little and nobody takes
Right.
it. And I guess I feel like we need to go into that full bore now that the ordinance is passed. I think the Emerald Ash Borer
Right.
thing is what it is, but pretty much anything that says Emerald Ash Borer, we're gonna keep the city safe is a plan that's okay. But I do think that the way to get out ahead of the cost to the average citizen is to put the tree district out there and a real good messaging campaign that this is way more of an insurance policy than it is a tax. And 'cause
Yeah,
that-
and you've got
that is
your
the
expert-
truth.
You've got your expertise, Andy, which the tree board's lucky to have as an arborist, and then, with Marshall's writing and with Tom's photography, quite frankly, I'm sure you guys can put together a nice pamphlet or program or whatever.
Well, I would like to invest some energy in that as we move forward. That's why the turnover in tree board members is troubling to me. Not so much that, well, I just think we need stability. We need people who want to be active, and we need stability because we're moving forward with things that are going to be a heavy lift, and we got to have commitment.
Right.
So, and then the other thing is, Eric, we need to work closely with you on a succession plan for the city arborist. And I think I think that we need to impress upon the commission that this is a position that's worth funding. And
Yeah, and I know
that's not gonna
Shannon
be
would
easy.
want to keep the arborist. Shannon's gonna want to keep that going. The problem is we don't have anybody to jump into it right away. That's the problem.
Yeah, so one question that I've had kind of hearing this is, whether there's a role for this like plan, whatever we have to kind of help with this transition. Like, Eric, do you think it would help to get some of this stuff that you're doing on paper so that there's kind of keep things pointed in the right direction?
I'm definitely going to make a list of stuff for all my job duties before I leave, and certainly it's going to include all the tree stuff. But the main problem is the city getting somebody who's trained enough, I guess. And quite frankly, they don't have anybody right now.
Well, we could talk, Eric. We've had some young guys around town that were trained up, and then it seems like a lot of them have moved on. But
Right.
if the city wanted to look at, I don't know, we could talk about, I could help out as a contract consultant or something like that but whatever. We just need a succession plan.
Well, honestly, I think that's a good idea. And they're going to want to go to somebody. So it would be good to have you in the equation for sure.
Well,
I used to have you do pre-risk assessments for us when years ago, whatever, and, stuff like that even.
there's a bunch of municipal arborists in Montana, and I don't want to get into a sales pitch here. I don't want to get into a conflict with the other guys over contracts and this and that. I'd be happy to talk to the city moving forward, but the next few years until we're through the Emerald Ash Borer and through the whole replanting thing for the Emerald Ash Borer and the cottonwoods, the city has some magnificent trees, particularly white poplars. There's a lot going for the city. There's some beautiful basswoods. Some of the spruces are getting out of hand. There's just a variety of issues. And I get concerned about us piecemealing this. And I really think you've done a great job. And I know a city this size can't afford a full-time arborist. That's always the best thing, is to have an arborist. And
well, they could if they had a tree district.
Yeah, if they had a tree district. So,
Right.
we're probably running down a rabbit trail here, but it's a discussion that matters. And I sure look to you for leadership, Eric, and what is possible? What is
Well, there again, that's where the whole, if they went with the tree district, they'd have to have a budget for an arborist at that point. you know, a full-time who did nothing but trees. I did a little assessment for him some years ago. And, you know, to hire a full-time tree guy with a helper, a chipper, and a bucket truck, it's not hugely expensive, relatively speaking.
No, not compared to what we're doing now and what individuals have to pay.
Yeah,
start
I mean,
adding up-
you might have to pay, I think I calculated about $30 per homeowner per year,
Right.
would fund it. But there again, all that needs to be looked at with current numbers. And that would solve a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Eric, can you give me an estimate of how much, what percentage of your time you spend being the arborist?
Oh, it varies throughout the year, but maybe 20%.
Okay,
I mean, we do a lot. Trees is just one part of it.
right, exactly. Okay,
I think there's quite a bit more to the story also, because the majority of our trees, if I'm not mistaken, are in the old part of town within a mile or two of Main Street. And we have some large new neighborhoods where there are very few trees, and these are not particularly the wealthy people. Trees are expensive. You have to want one, then you have to buy one, then you have to plant it. Water is not cheap. Maintenance is not cheap. Over the years, we've tried to get different neighborhoods to plant, and people say no, they don't want to. They don't like the mess. They don't like the leaves. They don't like the fruit. They don't like the water bills. They don't like the pruning bills. So I think the district is going to be essential, but I think we need to show that it affects everybody, you know, that what we're looking at is an urban forest that includes all neighborhoods, people of all income levels, all kinds of, you know, you look at some of these houses up on N or the big developments, there isn't a tree in sight, and they're all landlord owned. They have no interest or incentive to plant trees. And so I think working with zoning, working with planning, you know, that all needs to be part of it. It's biting off a big piece, but I think it would be worth our while to create a true urban forest that's for everybody.
Well, you know, the urban forest is a nice idea. The urban forest by definition combines private trees and public trees. We can deal with the municipal forest, Laurel, in that those are the city-owned trees. Now we have an ordinance that kind of demands ownership of city tree care from residents. I know as a landlord, we've had more than one tree die from a tenant that says they want it and then won't water it, even if we take a piece of the water bill. So it's, you know, I really believe in 1-for-1 planting, but there is no way. If we do 1-for-1 planting, we're going to have 95% mortality. We're going to have that. We're going to have massive mortality anyway. People have to really want a tree.
People have to really want a tree, and it takes we used to laugh, it takes a decade to get a tree going in this town. And so I think there too, that's a position some of the other bigger cities, and we, you know, maybe are going to have to move toward that. The city takes on the watering, the city takes on the pruning, the city takes on that first 3 or 5 years of a new tree to reduce mortality and get these things established. It cannot be, you know, we have such a transient community. Even if one person wants it, they're gone in 2 years, the next person may not. So that is another reason why I think this needs to be, you know, sort of built in, and that makes it a little bit more challenging, but I do think it's the only way. And if we're going to bother, I think we should try to come up with a plan that's actually going to work over the long haul. And I understand about these urgent needs, ash borer coming and the cottonwoods dying. And I think that the long range view is going to be crucial.
Well, this discussion we're having today points up the complexity of this, and I'm glad we've devoted a few minutes to it. But I think it's going to take months and months of research. And, you know, I pulled some examples like Marshall said, and, you know, those cities have just a huge heritage and commitment to this program. So, you know, I really don't have much more to say about it today. We've already said quite a little, and this is a multi-month project. But Eric, as you're thinking about retirement, it's a big deal. So thanks for what you do and help us move forward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the commitment you guys are doing, really. It's, you know, I think everybody who's on the tree board now is doing a good job, and that's what it comes down to.
So yeah, I think we start moving toward letting people go at one. But I did, I guess, to circle back to this point of, you know, this talking about what an annual plan from the tree board could be. I guess what I think could make sense is to just kind of take a lot of these ideas and start putting them on paper. And it could be messy at first, but start building, kind of a roadmap for ourselves for the commission of where we want to go and kind of where our priorities lie. And just as a practical note, I think I need to do this anyway, or somebody does. In that we've got Faith Kinnick wanted our yearly summary for the tree board, including the points from the past year and then also goals for 2021. So I think the last year is pretty easy to summarize, and then going forward, I guess what I'm hearing is some bullet points for the next year are seeing the Emerald Ash Borer plan through. Maybe starting the assessment for a tree district and planning how we're going to do that. What else? I guess maybe we put something on there about Eric leaving and how it's, he's done a lot for the trees, and that we really want to ensure that the city is doing all it can to, keep that going.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, and I think there again, Shannon definitely wants to do that. But there again, you have to work within reality, available staff and whatnot. But they're going to provide the training and whatever it takes to get people in place that they need. But it's not going to happen overnight.
No.
I mean, trees, you just have to work with them a long time. You see them a lot. It's just not something you can teach right away.
Mhm.
Yeah. Does anybody have any kind of big bullet points for the next year to have on that list of the commission?
No, I think that's a good idea, is to start pointing out that about the succession plan, and that maybe it will involve, if we can't get a city employee, I mean, to do it the way Eric has incorporated it in with his job so nicely. I think it's tougher to do that, and maybe we need to start the idea with the city that maybe consulting and having a separate person and just start bringing that idea up until we can actually have, another person in position the way Eric has done it. But at least having a voice
Mhm.
through a consultant with the city.
You're right.
Start the discussion now. So,
Yeah, great. Well, maybe we can leave that there then. So that would mean public comment. I guess we've got Tom. Do you have anything you want to chime in with here? Any goals for the next year?
I think that you want me to join you next Wednesday. Yeah.
Okay.
Marshall,
Yeah.
I think it's a great opportunity, and this is my umpteenth meeting this month where I've had more questions than answers. So now's the time to start getting answers. And I think we've got the right people and you get some direction, and an awful lot of things have come out of this meeting. I think we have to take that and go forward and get the thing moving. It just won't happen by itself. So it's been an excellent meeting, and I think we've let this drop for a few years, and we've got to pick it up and start and get the answers and start fresh and have some direction. and it's a perfect opportunity right now. So that's my assessment.
Okay.
And I'll do whatever I can on my end to move the thing forward, but it's a perfect time. And we got to get the answers. There's no sense, no sense stalling. We got to get going.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, good. Yeah.
What's
In board comments here, I've been talking with a lot of people the last month. I don't know that I can really go into these things, but I don't think there's anything really too pressing or related to any of the things we've been talking about today. I guess I'm interested in just starting to chip away at kind of the information we have on the tree board website too, and little things that we can help to engage people with being more informed about trees in the city. And to start, I think one really easy thing would be to just like, the city has this tree donation fund that we mentioned in Tom Murphy's article, and there's no information on the city website about that. So maybe a simple one-page form that tells people how they can donate to city trees.
And do we have an application form? I think we do, right, Eric?
To donate a tree?
Is there
No,
like, I thought we had
I
a,
have people just sometimes call me and we just do it.
oh. Maybe a
I don't
form,
know that we have any official form anywhere. No, not that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I guess what else did I have on my list here? Yeah, I think a lot of what we've been doing is like pretty heavy stuff with planning, and I just had this thought in the last month of, I think it would be great to kind of keep doing some little projects that are fun for us, like, little grants and like getting a couple trees in the ground here and there, just because that's kind of, what lifts our spirit as a tree board, is just getting more trees in the ground. So I might just look into some opportunities for that. And yeah, let's see here. I don't know. Does anybody else have any other comments? Yeah, I also realized I've been kind of acting in this like de facto chair role, which I don't know. Did that happen in May when Mike made some motion where we had like 3 people at the meeting? So I just wanted to
Yeah,
say.
I thought we voted for you.
What's that?
I thought we did vote you as chair.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we had a quorum.
did we, did we have a
I
quorum?
thought we did, yeah.
So
That I
yeah,
don't know.
I wanted to say I'm happy to keep doing this, but if anybody else wants to do it, or it was kind of, I felt like it was maybe not as official, or like we didn't really think about it all that much. But anyway, I'm happy to keep doing it. But
Good.
Thank you. It seems to be working well. We
I'm
appreciate it.
happy for you to keep doing it.
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
Well, cool. So I will work with Faith to get this meeting scheduled for next Wednesday at noon, and we can do our vote then and take it from there.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I'll let you know what I find out from the other members.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
Bye.
Thank
bye.
you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.